Hey guys, welcome back to the Two Mom Life podcast. I am thrilled to be here today with Jackie Hyman or Hyman. Sorry,
Hyman.
Hyman. Great. Amazing. From Queenrise. And Jackie works with women and girls on self-defense, which I think is just so crucial. It's such an important conversation to be having, especially for Jewish women and Jewish girls who sometimes are a little more on the reserved side. So, Jackie, tell us a little bit more about your background and what got you into this work, and then we'll dive in.
Sure. Yeah, I always did some form of martial arts from when I was really little. And then I landed on kickboxing, which is more of a sport, but I just fell head over heels in love with it because it really pushed me to my limits and showed me what I was made of. And so I was looking in Israel, in Jerusalem, for a place where I could start teaching kickboxing. This is really what I wanted to do. And I landed on a huge center and incredible organization that was specifically geared towards women who are in the martial arts in Jerusalem. So who would have thought something like that exists in the middle of Jerusalem? But it does. It was incredible. So they told me, you're welcome to teach kickboxing here. Just, we want you to have this certification through us. I didn't even know what it was. Okay. And it was a certification to be able to teach their method of self-defense, which is called empowerment self-defense, specifically geared towards women and girls, created by women for women and girls. And so I didn't even know what it was when I started it, but it blew my mind. All of my perceptions about self-defense, martial arts, being a woman in the world, reconciled a lot of things from my own past. And I could go on and on about it, but that's how it started. That's their origin story.
Wow, yeah, the origin story. Well, that's really powerful. And I used to do kickboxing back in the day. I took a class in college and absolutely loved it. I was actually thinking about it the other day of how I want to get back into it. So that's so fun. Yeah, to know that that's how you kind of got your footing in the self-defense world. So we all have our own perceptions and our own maybe definitions or processes around what we think self-defense is. What is your definition of self-defense, and particularly empowerment self-defense? How does that differ from other methods of self-defense?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, but I think the most important distinction is that a lot of other self-defense classes will focus on here's what to do if you're attacked, which is really powerful to know. Empowerment self-defense is really about choice. It's helping us get to a place where we always feel like we have choices, even when we're in a disadvantage in some ways, even when we can't control everything, that we always feel that we have choices. And so it's really not about saying, do this, don't do this. It's really about providing tools and putting women in charge of their own choices, their own emotions, their own bodies, and their own boundaries.
Okay. So walk me through it. How do you do that? I'm just thinking someone's, God forbid, being attacked and they're clearly at a disadvantage. How do you train these women and girls to navigate the choices? What choices do they have? Firstly, maybe you can outline that for us a little bit. And how do you help them navigate?
Yeah. So there are 5 things that we generally say are the main pillars. And those things are think, yell, run, fight, and tell.
Think, and so, yell, fight, run, and tell. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And so, I go deeper on each of those things, but those are all things, and there's tools for each of those things, but those are all choices that are available to all of us. And it's very important, I always stress that not defending yourself is also a choice. Okay. Because sometimes we feel safer to not fight back or not run or not yell. And that also is a choice. So it's not about, here's what you do when you're attacked. It's more about what is best for you, and you get to decide that.
Okay. And so when you're teaching self-defense, you're going into more depth around what isn't encapsulated in each of these 5 pillars, so that then the women and the girls have kind of like this well-rounded body of options to pick from if, God forbid, they're in a particular situation.
Right. So I do teach a lot of tools, and a lot of very effective tools that have proven to be effective, are science-backed, and are also gender-specific. Just there's a lot more stress put on, you never have to do any of this if you don't want to, like you're in charge.
Wow. What are some of the tools? I'm really curious. Can you give a couple of examples?
Sure. So I'll go really surface level into each of those 5 pillars. So Great. Think is really deciding, does this feel safe to me, and what do I want right now? Okay. Think yell is not just yelling, although we do a lot of very intense shouting, because it's an amazing tool, but it's also just using your voice to say what you want instead of boundary. And telling someone to back off or to stop, or voice how you're feeling, if it's a more intimate relationship. Run could be anything from literally running away to deciding this place, this situation, or this person is not for me anymore, and I'm gonna leave. Right?
Interesting. So it's not only about defending yourself against someone who's, God forbid, attacking you, but it's also if one's in a relationship that's not serving them, or, situations like that. Is that accurate?
Yeah. To put it more, I guess, simply, it's really about boundaries. And so It's about, what's okay with me and what's not okay with me. And I get to decide that. And I have tools for when it's not okay with me, what to do.
Yeah, I love that. We all need boundaries. And again, I think when I think of the way that I grew up, and I think of, so many of my friends and my daughters and their friends, and there is a lot of just timidness, within like the Jewish, especially in the religious world, like the Jewish girl, and I think that sometimes we're not taught, or don't learn, or don't understand even, how to set our boundaries, or what boundaries need to be set. So I love that you take your clients through this process.
Yeah, I feel like it's just, especially for women and girls, it's just as equally important as the things you would learn in a Krav Maga class, because if I could literally prevent all of that violence by saying, I don't like the way you're speaking to me, you need to go now, instead of letting it get to that zone of like, oh, wow, I really want this to stop. Even in that place of like, I'm not sure, checking in and saying, what do I want to happen here? What's important to me? And then giving voice to that and standing behind it with everything I've got. That's what prevents violence in the first place.
Absolutely.
These just aren't the stories that we're reading about in the news, but they happen all the time with my clients and students.
Yeah, no, so that's such a good point. And it's not only about what you say, like, I don't like that, stop doing that. It's also how you say it.
Yeah. Yeah, we go pretty deep on that too.
Yeah, it's taking me back to when I must have been in middle school, and I did a self-defense class with my mother. And I remember the instructor just having us yell the word no. Like, we had to shout the word no. And I'm sure this is extremely surface level, but it really was a stretch for me at that point to yell the word no. And the instructor kept pushing us to, not only to say the word, but also in the way that we were standing and the way that we were, kind of portraying ourselves and the tone of our voice. And you're just taking me back to that whole time of my life.
Yeah, that's amazing that you did that exercise, because if you ever need to do that, like stand really tall and yell the word no, even though it's still going to be uncomfortable for you, you've done it before. And so your brain already sees it as like something that's not so out there that's like completely unsafe. And so it could come much more naturally to you, even just from having done it that one time. So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's very true. And see how it's stuck with me. That experience has stuck with me. So talk about the impact of learning self-defense in other areas of life.
Totally. So funny, because I was just with one of my students last night. We did a one-on-one session after a whole online course. And, she sort of let me know that she sort of led on to her kids about what she was learning. She didn't tell the whole world. She's pretty reserved, but her son said to her, why are you learning self-defense? Like, we live in a safe suburb, in a Jewish community. There's like, the only bullies now are on the internet. And so she said to him, right, which there's a lot of truth to what he said, yes. But she said to him, it's helping mommy feel really strong and really powerful on the inside. And so that feeling can impact all areas of your life, in your standards for how people treat you, your standards for your life, the way you speak to your boss, the way you can just transform your relationships, especially your relationship to yourself. To be cliche, but it's so true.
Okay, I just started it again. We'll edit the episode. I wonder.
Recording in the beginning, you think?
It was definitely recording in the beginning. I don't know where it stopped. Let me just think. I have a feeling it stopped pretty recently. Let's just re-record this question, and then, if we need to go back, I'll let you know after. Okay, after we finish up. Okay, so I'll ask you again. I don't know how that happened, but okay. So, what was the question? The question was, can you talk about a little bit about how this shows up for the teenage girls that you work with versus the adults?
Sure. So, I don't change the curriculum that much when I work with teens. I don't even change a lot of the way that I teach or the content, because I really see teenagers as being very well on their way to womanhood. And they are, like, more than we want them to be. And so I try to meet them there. And I feel like, for me personally, and I think a lot of us kind of felt like teenage years were supposed to prepare us for adulthood, and it didn't really at all. We were kind of like, okay, like, you're on your own now, have fun. We're like, how do I do this?
Yes.
And so while it's really scary to give your teen choices and more freedom and more autonomy, I feel like it's really so important for them to already start practicing those things, because very soon they're going to be autonomous women and not even really know how to do that, how to be an autonomous woman. I have some 17-year-old clients whose parents still kind of make all their decisions for them, try to tell them what's right, what's wrong, what to feel, what's safe, what's not. And while it obviously is all coming from a place of just wanting what's best for our children, that doesn't actually prepare them for the next year when they're legally going to be able to make any choice about their body that they want to without your consent. And so I feel like there's just a big chunk missing there. And so I try to give the message over to teens that they get to choose how they feel, and that matters. What they feel matters. What they feel is safe and what they feel is not safe matters. Because there's no other way to know where your boundary is when you're not in touch with what do I feel is safe for me and what do I feel is not safe for me. They've only been relying on their parents their whole life for what that means.
No, and then that turns into, when they're older, just relying on a spouse to make their decisions for them, or it can turn into an unhealthy balance. And what's your advice then to parents on working with their kids to develop a healthy relationship with themselves and with their bodies, and at what age does it start?
Right. So this really has to be tailored to the age, right? You're not going to give your 3-year-old full autonomy over their lives. But at 3, you can give them a lot of autonomy over their body boundaries. You can ask them before you give them a hug. Do you want a hug? Do you want a kiss? Let them choose. Put them in charge of their own bodies.
And if they say no, the answer is no. No matter how much you want to give them that hug.
Right. We're teaching them how to respect boundaries when we do that. It's a huge gift that we can give our children. Normalize sexual body parts and normalize all their feelings, even the negative ones, and let them be in charge of their own emotions and how they feel. Because, toddlers have tons of emotions. They're just like purely emotional creatures. And so they're not really taught what to do with those emotions. And so the more we can just allow them to feel what they feel and be in charge of what they feel and not try to change the way they feel or tell them not to feel a certain way, the more we're building them up for success.
Okay, so that's starting with the toddlers, the 3-year-olds. Okay, fast forward, maybe elementary school, what does it look like?
So for ages 5 through, I guess, 9, I talk a lot about, for that age, I really don't feel like it's appropriate to put their own safety in their own hands. Like, it's our job as adults to keep them safe still at that point.
Sure.
So I put a lot of stress on it's okay to tell.
Okay.
And it's important to tell. And for parents, it's important that you set up an environment in your home and a culture in your home where it's safe to tell. Because if your child feels like they'll be angry, they'll explode, they won't be able to handle this news, and some of the news can be devastating, then they're not going to feel safe telling. And that's the most unsafe thing for a child, is to feel alone in that.
Do you have one piece of advice around how to make your home a safe space for kids to tell? Or like,
I always tell my kids, you can tell me anything, and if you're being honest, I won't be angry.
Simple phrase.
Yeah. And if I am angry, I'll go deal with that on my own, right? Like, I'm not going to deny my anger, but I'm not going to show my child that I'm angry. I'm going to receive whatever it is they have to tell me with compassion and love, and let them know that I am there for them, and they can come to me with any experience, and that's safe. And I'll still love them no matter what they have done. I'll still love them.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So we've got up to the 9-year-olds. Take us one step further.
And then after that, I really do, from 12 and on, I'd say, 10, 11 is still an age that I'm working on. But from 12 and on is really when I say, hey, how do you feel about this situation? Do you feel that this is safe? Do you feel like this is not safe? And I let them choose. And then I give them tools for, here's what to do when you don't feel safe. Here's what to do when you're not sure, but you choose. Whereas with kids, it's like, if someone touches your private part, that's not safe. There's way more black and white there. Yeah.
Sure. Right. And by the time kids reach that coming of age kind of period, it's it's in their hands of what feels safe to them and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's how they get to know their boundaries.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for all of this incredible advice and these little tips on, talking about and addressing and just framing self-defense for ourselves and for our kids, and specifically our daughters. What's one last piece of advice that you have for our listeners today related to self-defense or not? Anything goes.
I know a lot of people say, and this is related to self-defense, because anything that has to do with the self is self-defense in my eyes. Any care for yourself, any love for yourself, any compassion you have towards yourself, all lends into how much you are able and willing to stand up for yourself. And so when people say, don't pour from an empty cup, I would like to I'm very radical about this. I say, don't pour unless your cup is overflowing.
Wow.
Overflowing. Because it ends in either resentment or just doing it because we can feel good about ourselves, And so give to yourself. If you have something that you want, I would even say there's just this dress that you just really want to buy. Go give that to yourself, go give that to yourself, and then give tzedakah. And then that tzedakah is going to feel so much better. It's going to be coming from such a better, more wholesome energy when you really fill your own cup first. And so I had a student who, she was awarded a scholarship of choice, either the teen program or the women's program. And she had such a hard time deciding. And at the end of the day, her teen didn't even want to do the program. And she still had a hard time choosing the women's program for herself. But it's really what she needed. And so I think as moms, and especially as women, we're just giving all day, and our natural state in the feminine is to receive from other people. And sometimes we have to do both, the masculine and the feminine. We have to give to ourselves and receive it.
Yeah.
And so I know we all really want our daughters to learn self-defense. So important. But if you're feeling called to this as a woman, give it to yourself first.
Now, isn't it
over?
Yeah, no, I love that. And in theory, I connect with that phrase, don't pour unless your cup is overflowing. One question that I have about that though is sometimes I mean, I hear this from a lot of people that I feel so fulfilled when I make dinner for that, family who really needs it right now, or for that mom who just had a baby. Like, but one's cup isn't always overflowing when we do things like that. So are you saying hold back on that, even if it does help fill you up?
Not at all. I think we all need to figure out what fills our cup. And that's different for everyone. It might not be that pretty dress online. It literally might be making dinner. Like, that's not me. Like, it's stressful for me to make meals. But maybe for you it is.
Yeah.
And so this is really important, because this is really about knowing yourself. What do you want? Like, get clear on that. You can't fill your cup if you don't know what you actually really deeply desire.
Yeah.
So get really clear on that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me. And then I think you have a gift that you're offering to all of our listeners today. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. So it is called the 15-minute teen safety guide. I'm actually going to be changing it to be a guide for everybody, because I think it applies to everybody. And it really is just the first step in detecting danger and owning what you feel. It's a really awesome, simple system to be able to do that. You can do it with your child. You can do it with your friend. You can do it for yourself. It's very simple. And then when you download that, you're automatically going to be signed up for my email list, and you will be getting all the information about a completely free 5-day mini course on empowerment self-defense that I'm going to be giving. And if you participate in that, you can have a chance to win a full ride to Own Your Throne, which is my women's self-defense program.
Yay! That sounds beautiful. So amazing. Guys, go grab that. Go grab that gift. We'll post all of the links, the link to get that free gift, and also all of the information on how to get in touch with Jackie. We'll post it all in the show notes. So definitely just check out the show notes if you liked what you heard and want more. And as you know, guys, I really, really value your time. I know that your time is important, and I don't take that lightly. So thank you for choosing to spend it here with us today. If you loved this episode and want to help other women, want to help spread the word and help other women get the support that they need through motherhood as well, please write us a review on iTunes and share this episode with your friends. Send them an email, send them a text with the link. Share the love. We all benefit when we all give. So thank you. And until next time, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.